Okay, welcome everybody to Sig's Garage. Another beautiful day here in South Carolina, mid-November, before Thanksgiving. Hope everybody's getting ready for that. So today's work is on a 2019 Cadillac XT4. Pretty much just a straightforward brake job, front brake job only today. Pad replacement and machining of the rotors. So I'll kind of update as we go along in the video if there's anything I really want to pass along as far as good information, and we'll take it from there. Let's get to work. So I ran into something I hadn't really seen too much of, but when I pulled the slide pin bolts out of the calipers to remove the caliper just to get the pads off. It's like they used an adhesive on the backs of the brake pads. And I mean, they were really stuck to the outboard side and to the piston side. I had to get kind of aggressive and I think break them loose from the caliper on the outside and the piston side. So not seen that before in manufacturing, but these have never been changed. But just bring that to your attention, something you might want to look out for. A couple things I want to mention to you. The customer had taken this vehicle to a Cadillac dealership, and they recommended the front brake pads be replaced, and their diagnosis on paper said they were down to 4 millimeters. I'm not going to talk about any dealership or any name. I'll just say always sometimes get a second opinion on things. They quoted them a pretty steep price of like $551 just for front brake pads and machining the rotors. Upon disassembly, I measured the brake pads and there was over 7 millimeters left, or 9/32 is what was left of pad. They were not even close to the little chirp bars on the inboard pad that normally would touch the rotor when you're getting really down low. They were nowhere close. So just kind of want to try to save people some money. Don't always take your first diagnosis or recommendation, maybe I should say, from anybody. Get it looked at again. And then the second thing is on the rotor, there's one screw. I think it was a T30 holds a screw in that retains the rotor onto the hub. No big deal. It comes off very easy. So just want to pass those little tidbits along. So I want to just talk a little bit about this project I'm working on with this 2019 Cadillac XT4. So as the content of the video shows, it's a front brake pad replacement. But I ran into something I'd never seen before, and so I put everything back together, took my time with assembly, and the wheels spun perfectly. Rotors were machined, buttoned it up, torqued the wheels, filled it with fluid. I had done a vacuum bleed on it, so I'd flushed out all the dirty fluid. And well, I go to back it out of my garage and I hear a ticking sound. And at first I thought it was a mechanical sound, but I had spun the wheels and they made no noise. But I put it back on my lift and checked everything again. And the other problem, on the dash, there was a brake system failure message. Speed limited to 43 miles an hour. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have this issue, but I had never had it before. So I got my scanner out and did my diag with it. 4 codes for the brake system, and they all related to the EBCM, electronic brake control module, and they wouldn't clear. You couldn't clear them. I could hit erase many times as I wanted, and they'd pop back up. And so I had to fix something, and that's typically what a hard set fault will do. Check it. Basically, the dash just lit up like a Christmas tree with the message, check engine light, stability control, ABS, everything that's related to the functions of the EBCM were flagging me. Now, I had a person coming to pick their car up, and I was getting a little anxious about it. So I took it and drove it around the block, so let's see if it'll clear if I drive it. No, that didn't work either. So I came back on the lift, pulled wheels again, inspected everything, looked at everything, went so far as to say, the only thing I did was change pads and push the caliper pistons in. That's all I did. And I'm getting all these problems. So I said, I'll put the old pads back on. They really weren't that worn anyway. Just thinking, well, that'll at least extend the piston, the caliper back out. It'll flow some fluid back down the piston. Let's just see if it's a hydraulic issue. Did that? Nah, no good. Same thing. So at that time, it was getting kind of late in the night, and I was getting a little burnt out, and I've learned just to sometimes walk away from things. And I made arrangements for the customer as far as what they were going to do for the evening without a car, because I surely didn't want them to drive the car the distance they had to at 43 miles an hour. Even though it would have been safe, it would not have been a good deal. So, and then you got all your things that are not working. Your ABS, your stability track's not working. None of that's working. Oh yeah, frustration. This is what this is. Frustration juice. So I did a little reading and studying, just probing other people's problems they've had with these vehicles, and it's not limited to Cadillac. It's Chevrolet, GMC. It's a General Motors thing that came about in 19. And once they went with the electric brakes in the back, and it's really important in the back. You have to. You put it in the brake service mode, and I had to learn what that was because I'd never dealt with that before. But it's basically, you can do it without a scanner. You just push the brake and hold the parking brake button for approximately 15 to 20 seconds. And then the park brake light will start blinking, or it's just park with the surface, the wrench under it. And as soon as it blinks, you can release the brake pedal and then re-hit the parking brake switch one more time, and it will put it into brake service mode, and you'll hear the calipers in the back retract. So, and it obviously does something with the ECBM. Anyway, after doing that function, everything cleared. Now, I had even left the car sitting overnight with the battery disconnected, and when I put it back on, so that was a good, 6, 7 hours. And no, battery disconnecting did not clear anything. But as soon as I put it into brake service mode, even though I didn't touch the rear brakes, everything went away. The only thing that I had hanging was the check engine light, and then I put my scanner on it and cleared that, and I had a clear dash again. And I went and drove it, and yes, the brakes function much better. When it does that, you'll notice the braking on the front is much less than what it should be, and you're doing primarily most of your braking in the rear. So it doesn't feel right, it doesn't sound right, and it doesn't run very fast. So it was just one of those things that, when you deal with different year model cars, different manufacturers, do your due diligence to study up before you get started. I did not. I did it on the backside. I'll never forget it for sure. And I know now going forward, anything in that year model range starting in 19 and up, especially with rear, but I'll put it in for front and rear. The other little caveat to that is, many people have said this, and I believe this will be true. You know, we've always just pushed the pistons back in the caliper. The fluid goes back to the master cylinder. You drain off the excess, and then you go on, and then you refill after you put pads on. Well, you're also pushing fluid back into the EBCM when you do this. And it doesn't like it. It's a very sensitive module, and it doesn't like to have fluid forced back to it. So you can't just redirect it back to the master cylinder. It's going to go wherever the lines are plumbed. So I think good practice, this is what I'll do going forward, is on those. I'll just crack the bleeder screw, put a hose on it, and when I push the piston back in, it'll just go into a container and won't be forced back to the master cylinder and the brake module, because it really doesn't like that. So that's a takeaway that I learned from this, and explain to the customer. They're happy, car runs good, and the brakes operate just fine. But I just wanted to give you a little rundown on what I ran into, and hopefully will save somebody else the frustration and the time that I invested in that going forward. So that's pretty much it. Other than that, it was still just a standard brake job. And this one, then some of the GM cars do use pad wear sensors. I think they must have gotten that from BMW, because they've done it for a while. But I've never seen that on the GM. But as I was reading some other some blogs, I found out that they are doing that on some of the Tahoes, Suburbans, Silverados. They're putting wear sensors on the pads, so that also can cause a problem. But I did not have those on this car, so it really was not. I knew that wasn't the issue, but I just keep that in mind as well. And also recommend that if you do replace the sensor for the pad, put a GM sensor on there. I did read that a lot of people had issues with the aftermarket sensors. You know, these electronics with these CAN systems is very sensitive anymore to resistance, and that's just one of those things. I think it's just be worthwhile to spend a few extra dollars and get an OEM part. So that's it. Just want to let everybody know about it. Have a great day. Done.